I ended up with nomads.
Okay.
With the �𝐔𝐿
Right.
outside the town, because I wasn't in the list. So all of the people that were in the list, especially the girls, were put in the village with the families, and the teacher would go and visit them every day. And then there was me, the outliers. There was a guy that came and he said, I want a teacher too. And they said, we have this one, take her. So that's how I ended up with the nomad. 𝐔𝐿.
Welcome to another episode of Innovation Somalia. I'm your host, Abdullah Ali. I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. I'm really excited. Today I have somebody that I've known for the most of my life, or I should say somebody that known me the most of my life.
All your life.
All my life. My sister, Shamsa Bashir Ali. Welcome to the program.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for taking the time to do this. Shamsa is a teacher and as well as the director of Islamic school Avicenna here in Columbus, Ohio. Tell us a little bit about the school.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you for having me. This is going to be an interesting thing. I never gave an interview or anything else. Avicenna is an Islamic school planned and prepared and dedicated to the building of the black children, Muslim children specifically. Okay. And I have been in the education system for close to 30 years. Okay. And in that process, I have seen deterioration and all of the issues that black children have in the system, whether it's in a private setting or in a public setting. And I always felt that there's something better. We can do better for the kids. And then something happened that pushed me in a place where I would start the school. And 5 years ago, I jumped in, and that's what we did. Okay. So the vision of the school is to safeguard the dignity of the child, period. To build a person that is comfortable in their skin and comfortable in the knowledge of their deen and able to compete with their peers. Because subhanAllah, especially our Somali kids, they are fearless. When you teach them right, they go to the top. That's the beautiful thing about them.
It is true.
But subhanAllah, those that succeed, most of them succeed against all odds. They don't have parental support, much of them, and definitely they don't have support from the school. So I always felt very grateful when I see one of my students succeed in a way against all the odds that was against that.
You were in the public schools, right?
Yes.
Way before you started.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the Islamic school now, tell us a little bit like how you guys prep. So from what age did you take into, what age does it stop? And how is that interaction going with the kids and in terms of like their preps and things like that?
So I'm a high school teacher.
Okay.
And I wanted to have Islamic high school. Okay. But I didn't want to start from 15 years old, like from 9th grade.
But then they
already developed. So I wanted to start them young and grow them like carrots, in my own garden.
Gotcha.
So I believe that kids are sponges and they have specific time frames in their mind that they can absorb a lot.
Tell us a little bit about that, specifically age group.
Yes.
When is that critical in terms of from point A to kind of the sponge is full already?
Yes. So I am very much interested in research of the brain and how it works and how specifically it learns. I am a psychologist by profession as well as degree. Okay. I just happen to be a teacher. But I didn't purposely set out. I purposely set out to research and to understand how the human body works. Okay. So going back to the children, from 0 to 3 years old, especially in year 3, is when their brain produces the most connections.
Year 3 as of age or year 3 as an grade level?
Year 3 as age.
Okay.
So they have billions of synapses. That's the things that connects the brain. And if those synapses are connected and make the groove, then that child is set. So I always tell parents, read to your kid in so many different languages, because you just need to start that route for that language. Later on, when they want to pick up Chinese in high school, it will be easier because they got it when they have that bank set up already in their brain. But most people think that I'm just talking.
No, because I'm thinking you're just talking. When I don't shut down, I'll tell you.
So it is an amazing thing that happens in a 3-year-old brain. But then they start losing it immediately if you don't use it.
That's what I'm trying to how many people remember 3 years old?
Yes.
When you were 3, it's really hard to keep those memories.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is that what keeps them, those memories or those pre-education stick?
Yes. Practice.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just practice. You start something and you keep going. It doesn't have to be every day. It can be once a month. It can be once a year. It can be not once a year, once a month, once a week, once a day. But practice makes it perfect.
That's right.
We start our kids in kindergarten to read in 2 languages, Arabic and English. We teach them the alphabet, and then we ask parents to pick up where we left off, which is practicing at home. Just read to them 20 minutes. Just read through this book 20 minutes. And if the parent really follows what we say, wallahi, that child is amazing. And they think that the child is genius. It's not genius. Every child has that capacity and to do, but you just have to develop. But most parents think that parenting is just feeding and clothing the child. And that's their work.
Right. I mean, that can go different directions.
Yes,
all places. But let's stick with the education side of it.
Yes.
And so, what age it shuts down? Because the reason I'm asking is that there's an old saying, or maybe I heard from somewhere that show me a 7-year-old kid, then I'll show you what their future will look like. That means that, based on from 0 to all the way to 7, what they have absorbed, what they have, kept in terms of like whether that's education, whether that's an experience, whether that's just life lessons that they go through, that then that kind of shapes them and forms for the rest of their life. Is that true? Or?
I think the tarbiyah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has 3 aspects, 3 groups of Jannah. So 0 to 7, and 7 to 14, and 14 on to adulthood. So 0 to 7 is when you are just 0 to 7-5. You are loving them. You're building their bonding, the emotional connection with you as a parent, and the trust. And then 7 to 14, you're training them. Yeah, you become a soldier, and they become a soldier, and you become the general. But they already know that you love them, so they will never feel that what you're doing or saying or making them do is bad for them. They will trust you because you built that in the beginning. And then 14 to, I think, on the biggest issue is with you, because then you'll have to keep your mouth closed.
Yeah.
You have to trust them this time. And then you have to let them practice the theories that you have been teaching them. So those are the 3 components of Islamic tarbiyah. Okay. But that's what we kind of like align our things to them. So we put most of our efforts in 0 to from 5 years old to probably when they are 9 or 10. And then we teach a lot of information in that time. And we also, the math, science, Quran, Arabic, and all of the skills that they need. We also teach life skills like time management, like managing your understanding of how you learn. We make them partners in our learning. Like we have meetings in the morning as to what it is that you want to do, because after all these years, I learned that, especially with me, that education is powered by interest. I was wondering, I was looking at you set up this thing, and I said, how do you learn this? But you learn because you're interested in it.
That's right. Yes,
you will go and find all of these things and you put them together. That's what education is. Kids will never learn what they're not interested in. So that's why we make them partners. So what do you want to do? How you want to do it? We do a lot of projects. We do a lot of thinking, and just building their identity as a Muslim, so that when they go out there, they are comfortable
So what are the skills to teach? Because obviously they have to learn things that they're not interested in.
Yeah.
So what are the skills that, as a teacher, that will say, okay, hey, that will help them learn?
Yes. So we don't believe that they have to learn what they're not interested in.
Okay.
Because they don't learn.
Okay. Quran is one of it. It's really hard for them to learn the Quran.
No, actually, it depends on who's teaching it and the connection that they have.
Okay.
As teachers, we always train our teachers to build relationships first. Because if the child does not care about you, you can stand there for 10 years, they will not learn from you. So it depends on who's teaching. So when our teachers come in with kindness and love in their heart and the intention of do good with you, the kids respond to that. And our setup is not like a traditional setup. Our classrooms are very small, like second grade we have 2 kids this year, and fourth grade. So we are individualized attention to each child, and each child's strength is built on. And then we work on their little areas of concern to a place where they are comfortable building themselves. One of the main things we do is giving them the power to unlock their own potential. So if a child is interested in computers and they want to be online all the time, we don't say no to them. We give them work to do online.
Okay.
So they will go on dig things in there, and then so he or she will be in the group because they work in groups. He or she will be the person that does the research, and collects all the information and does the thing.
And brings it to you.
So that's what the thing is. Okay. And we don't tell them sit down, be quiet. It's like just remember that you are in a room with other people and there are spaces for everybody. So be respectful, and we connect everything with Islam. Okay. Like this is a shared space. What would Islam say? So you don't have to be loud, and you're excited, but remember the other group is also working. So they kind of like measure their own the ups and downs. Okay. The teacher is just a facilitator in the classroom.
It's very important to align what the kid's interested in to things of something.
It's not only that. If you teach a child the responsibility of his work, he will make himself do things he doesn't want to do. Yeah. For example, I was giving you an example of the kid that's interested to work with the technology. He also has to do the typing or the writing of the paper. Now, he's not necessarily interested in writing. The way he is but interested. He has to because this is his product.
Yeah.
So we teach them, okay, since you are bringing something out into the public, be something that you are proud of. And as young as 3rd grade, they have to do projects.
Yeah, they have to.
As young as 3rd grade, they have to present papers. As young as that, they have to do research.
That is true.
I have siblings in my school. One is coming into 3rd grade this year, and one is going into 4th grade. So I gave them. All of my students get homework for the summer. Yeah, summer package. So, not summer package, homework for they have to do projects and read books. Okay. So the younger kid did something messed up, and his older kid, he said, "Oh, I don't think Ms. Shamsa will accept this." And I said, "What? It's finished. I did everything she said." I said, "Listen, I don't think Ms. Shamsa will accept it because this is not your best." "How do you know?" "I know how much time you spent in it." They're talking to each other. I'm not even the parent calls me and tells me, my older teacher is teaching. So I just give them responsibility for themselves, and I trust them that they know themselves better than I do. Yeah. And then you need to move yourself. I will show you what you don't know, but you have to show me your best. And I trust you have in there. And I always tell Allah created you to be the best. And there is an ayah in the Quran that says, whatever you do, do to the best of your ability. So I said, yes, Allah has trust in you, trust yourself and show us. That's how we connected the deen to their everyday work and to their life skills. So that's what we do.
Well, it looks like it's an exciting place to be. For the kids, that is.
I have kids saying that, can we come back tonight? Do we have to go home now?
So it's Monday through Friday from the regular school hours, like 7 o'clock to 3 p.m. or 8 o'clock to 3 p.m. Okay, and no, that's very cool. So now, what prep you to do this Islamic school? In a little bit has something to do with what you have seen. how others get treated when you were in the public sector, right?
Yes.
In the public school. So let's talk about a little bit of that. And I know you have taught a lot of Somali kids. Some of them actually kind of sort of graduated. Some of them I know that, they tell me that, hey, your sister was a good teacher to me. Your sister kind of sort of helped me and that. Let's talk about that. Was it only in high school? Was it in middle school?
I started in middle school. I was a 6th through 8th grade teacher in a private school, Islamic school, for 10 years. And I taught language arts. Language arts, reading and writing, like analyzing what you read, understanding why the writer is writing what he's writing, and then ability to put your words into paper. And writing is a skill that they don't teach very often in the public schools. In the private schools they do, but in the public schools they don't teach very much. And it's a very essential skill. I've had kids telling me, I don't need to learn how to write, I'll be a truck driver. I say, you'll be writing reports on your load.
Yeah, your load, that's right.
You have to do these things. So I always had to come back to whatever they told me. So how do you know these things, Shamsa? So anyway, I always focused on teaching them to the best of what they can do and performing at the level that is higher than what anybody expects. And I tell them, don't worry about winning. Worry about how are you doing the process. How are you going through the thing. And then we used to go into just to check where we are according to the other, because we were situated in a suburban environment at the school I used to work at. Just to check where we are with the other students, we would go to competitions with them. Writing competitions, academic competitions.
Internally within the school or outside the school?
No, outside the school with other districts. With Upper Arlington, with Hilliard, with Dublin, and all of these things. And it would be writing.
And that was like a facilitated?
Yeah. It's a program called Power of the Pen.
Gotcha.
And it's an interstate. So it's like the schools go, and then districts go, and then you go to the state level. And then 90% of the time, we were the only hijabis, the only black people in the system. And some of my students went all the way to the state.
Oh wow!
They won, things, and it was and I didn't do it so that we can win. I did it so that I can show them that they are at the level. Right. That they can compete.
And they have a potential.
Yes, they can do this. It's for my students. And subhanAllah, they go to Ohio State and they get to the best classes and they get, a lot of accolades, mashallah.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. And let's talk about the downside of what you have seen in terms of like if the system was good to the to our community, in a sense of that there are some people that were not coming up or not meeting to the potential that that is kind of sort of expected, and talk to us about that. What can be done to the school wise per se in a way that how do I say, in a way that the right resource is available to them outside the school?
Yeah. The resources available outside the school are just there. They need information to know where to look. In America they say information is power.
Absolutely.
And nobody gives it to you.
Yeah.
So if the kids know that I can go to the library and ask for this, then the kid knows how to do his thing. But then going back to the school classroom, the biggest problems that I have encountered were the kids were being taught by people that didn't understand their culture, didn't understand their way of thinking, their background, any of these things. So and they just read their action and they assumed it was negative. So the kids were being criminalized by natural actions. A kid will run in the hallway, he's been written up. Why? Because he's black. Why? Because he's up to no good. Obviously, he's running from, It's always like that. How do you know this kid, was planning to do this? And you would see the other kids being given breaks and leeways. And no, he was just running because he needed to go to the bathroom fast. Well, the black kid was doing the same thing. But yet, this one is sitting in the principal's office. So I always stood up for that and called out my colleagues on it. Like, was it your bias that you were doing that for? Or how are you going to? And some of them will get upset with you, and some of them will actually think that this is an insightful information you're giving them, and they will follow. In high school was when things were very flagrant, because I was the only speaker of the language teaching, language arts. So the assumption always was the white teachers will come up to me and think that I'm the ESL teacher. Because that is, language arts is a very high level class, and it's like where most of the standards are being checked and most of the schools are being graded. It's reading and math. So I was teaching reading and writing. So I was the only other teacher that was the same was the math teacher, who were being scrutinized. They always assumed that I was not. I was just the assistant teacher or whatever. I never corrected anybody. I just said, okay, whatever floats your boat is fine with me. But I told my students to advocate for themselves, to teach them to be polite, but when somebody's doing something to you, make sure you understand and talk to your parents, talk to your elders, and talk to in a polite way to the principal or the teacher. Don't take things, or don't retaliate. Like, for example, and I used to tell my colleagues, if you do something to them, there are 25 of them in the class. So it will be 25 against you. So you will always lose.
That is true. That is true.
So always, it's best to be kind and loving to the kids.
So now, how long did you thought that?
What?
In that school?
I taught 10 years in Islamic school, private, and then 5 years in the public high school. And then I was the principal of the Islamic school I used to teach. And then now 5 years with
5 years with this.
The other school.
How do you summarize the word education? The way diaspora views it versus the way the actual people that live, in Somalia view it.
Well, I don't know nothing about either. I don't know what the diaspora sees as education, and I don't know what Somalis in Somalia see as education. What I know.
What are your perception?
What I know is what I know. My family, my mother, my grandmother, my whole family was focused on education, and to us, education was self-improvement. Anything that makes tomorrow better than today for you. That's education. Whether it's skills you learn with your hands or knowledge in your head. I remember my grandmother used to always say to me, focus on building your mind. She would say that your strength will leave you when you get old. If you think you're beautiful, your beauty will leave you. But what never leaves you is what you put in your head.
She actually said that?
She always. Not one time, twice, all the time. And then anybody who comes to our house from the rural area, because we lived next to a market of livestock market, she will tell them, what are you doing? You want to go to school? You can stay here. We'll feed you and shelter you, go to school. And a lot of people stayed and they became something. So she was always pushing people towards education. Alhamdulillah, all of her children were educated.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah. And then my mom continued into that thing. She always made us comfortable in wanting to pursue our education. So from the perspective of education, in my mind, is like Rasulullah ﷺ said, from the cradle to the grave. From the, like when I sit at home in the summer, I say, okay, what shall I learn? Let me go find something classes to do. So I'll take painting, or I'll take this, that, something that just improves my mind. So I'm continually learning something. And the way I process my learning is I teach. So that's why I never thought of being a teacher. I never thought of going to school to be a teacher. Because that's how I naturally am. I remember coming back from school and following our maids at home to teach them what I learned. And they used to hide from me. So I volunteered all my life teaching. I remember in high school I was teaching the elderly in the afternoon after school. And then in America when I came, when I didn't work while I was raising my children, I volunteered in training how to teach ESL, all of these things. So I've always been a teacher. So that's why I would do it for free.
It's the joy, right? The reason I asked about education, and there's a debate that the degree in college now is worthless. A lot of people realizing, okay, that's 4 years of like ranking up a debt to contribute to the cycle of society that just, hey, college, marriage, house, start over again.
Yeah.
And a lot of people pay off that debt until the rest of their lives, right? So is education is really, in other words, is really worth of going to college?
I think that's a very controversial topic in our family. And my thoughts are very radical in one sense, so I might not even, because that will mess your audience up.
No. It's we share an opinion here. We're not standing on law or anything, right? This is just an opinion.
Yeah.
No, because it's and a lot of people, or when I say a lot of people, I'm talking about more the American side of it, right? Because as a black immigrant, you will, no matter what, you will face that challenge in whether you go to corporate America or whether you went in a high tech with an entrepreneurial way without a degree, right? As with the degree as itself, you will face a challenge, let alone being without a degree. Then there's on top of that. But what I'm trying to say is that like a business administration type of thing. I mean, if you the debate is that if you're doing like a medical, yes, you need to go get those skills, right? But then you ask yourself, like, back in the day, how did those people so it's a challenge.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think skills versus theory, I think I will always go with the skills.
Okay.
I will always go. In America, they don't pay too much attention to the skills. They call it vocational school versus the 4 years that the regular schools are. But I think the kids that go towards vocational school learn better, learn more. For example, the nursing people that learn hands-on stuff, they can get a job right away. Or the mechanics, or whatever person that goes into these vocational schools is better off than the kids that go into college track. Because every year there's a new term in education that talks about bridging the gap between poor children and rich children.
Never happens.
And every year, why didn't we fix it last year since we came with the thing? Because but so it's this. So that's what it is. Kids, I would like to see, if I were in charge of the education system, especially the K-12 education system in America, something, because every child has a potential to do something. Amazing thing. Not just something, but amazing thing. It's our job as instructors, as teachers, as facilitators to turn that light on for that kid. But if we are so busy being biased or being racist or being we lose completely the big picture. And we ultimately harm ourselves, because the children you're raising in the suburbs will interact with the children that are being raised in the urban area, whether negatively or positively. And then what?
Yeah.
So I think there's a big thing that needs to be overhauled.
Yeah. And I think it's a wheel that's turning when you look at the whole education system. Whether that is for the good or for something else is yet to be seen. But it's definitely turning.
For sure.
Definitely turning.
We have our wheels set in our school.
Yeah.
Our school is different.
I would go to Sunday. It's good to go.
Our school is like, I tell them at 4th grade you are in middle school. There's no playing around.
That is good. That's good. And I've heard this before you say it. I've heard from other people, but you were part of the Olala time.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us some interesting stories. How did it get started? Was it the government? Obviously, it was the government doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, but how did you? Were you forced to do it? Were you?
No.
A little bit enjoyment, but how did all that happen?
Yeah, I thought I think differently than most people.
Okay.
So I thought that was a genius thing. I was 12 at the time, and I wasn't allowed to be part. You have to be 13.
Okay.
So I snuck myself in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I jumped into the thing, and they took me to this village, and they found out I wasn't in the list. They just put me in the list. So that's how I ended up in there. But I ended up with nomads.
Okay.
With the ��𝐒.
Right.
Outside the town, because I wasn't in the list. So all of the people that were in the list, especially the girls, were put in the village with the families, and the teacher will go and visit them every day. And then there was me, the outliers. There was a guy that came and he said, I want a teacher too. And they said, we have this one, take her. So that's how I ended up with the nomad. �𝐒.
Wow.
And then our station was Jazeera, the town.
Okay. There's a town called Jazeera? Where was that?
Outside of Hamar.
Jazeera, the beach?
No, there's a town called Jazeera.
Okay.
It's a little island.
Never heard that before.
meesha cusbad lagu soo dhigo.
Oh,
Abay dhaxan iyo Jazeera iyo dadkii yaqaan But there was lakes for salt.
Okay.
So this guy came, and then he was out there Creole active.
Okay.
But they came from there originally, but they were in the area. So we walked, I remember, for a day.
Okay.
To go to his camp. I have never walked that much in my life. So I'm walking these people, and they say, what is Guri out? Oh, get nothing. Finally, the 10th gate of East Hand, like, bring your house here, because I'm not going anywhere else. Anyway, I spent I think it built my character.
Okay.
Because I always tell myself, if I survive that, I will survive anything.
Okay.
That's how I came to America, not knowing English.
Okay.
What about you? But it was good. I learned a lot about Somali culture, especially nomad culture.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot about hard work, because I came from a house, all of a sudden I have to go walk 5 miles to carry 3 things of water in my back, because I'm the only girl in there. And I learned a lot about interacting and creating relationship with people. At a very young age, 12, 13, it was an amazing year, and I really grew up a lot when it came to that, because I had to survive and trust my own instincts. I said the house was all boys, and habarta kliya shaqeynaysa. So when I came in there, I became a daughter to him. And then but it was very nice.
So what did you actually teach them? Like
I taught them the alphabet of Somali, and I taught them how to read. So sometimes they will take when we are close to any city, they will sell to the market of the city
Okay.
and then they will buy the newspaper.
Okay.
October, the newspaper of Somali, and they will sit under the tree and read it. And I taught them how, because the only thing I knew was a cursive. Okay. So how to write in cursive on bari. Okay. So our plan thing was markay geelka ka soo noqdaan caanaha la liso oo waxa la kala xareeyo aan casheyno. By the way, you only get 1 meal a day.
Wow.
Then when you eat that, the elderly will sit by the fire, the young people, and they are party goers, or all the suuqin hortood ma jirin. So khoriya la qaadana waxa taga out of the area, the camp area, and then dawa la shida, and they'll start dancing. So before they dance, I'll do my ashar. I'll teach them all of these things, and then they'll dance, and they'll have different sounds for different girls, and then this girl comes through, and I was like, I watched some amazing things. What is Irfan saying? Irfan doesn't know. He doesn't need
back
to
in the day, it was them.
They were the most open. And then I used to pray. And they've never seen a woman pray.
Okay.
So markaan salaad dukana wali soo sufan jiri. Ali fiiri jiri. Then they start calling me Haji. They only have one person that knows the Quran in the whole 10 family is Lugurtu.
Okay.
And that one person Hersigo Hira Fataha that Kufu Jurnuku Akria, Halkas Hufala Saud. Nobody else knows that. Nobody else knows. It was blowing their mind, and me, I knew how to pray Fataha, you know. Yes,
interesting. So you yourself, I mean, when you were going to school, you were being taught in Italian language, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't Somali. So how do you pick the Somali?
We at home we speak in Somali.
Yeah, but like in terms of like the alphabets and you know how
we had a class.
Spell. Oh, okay.
In middle school.
Okay.
6th grade, when you come into 6th grade, they teach you as a foreign language class of Somali.
Somali foreign language
in Somali.
In Somalia.
We had 2 foreign languages. We had Somali and Arabic.
Okay.
And so I like Somali because it's a very clear. The grammar of it is very cut and clear.
I mean, there's not really that much of grammar if you think about it.
Oh, there is.
Are you kidding me?
There is a lot. I don't know what people think.
I mean, you just write it as you pronounce it.
No, there's conjugation, there's verbs, there are adjectives, all of these things.
Okay. Interesting. Those people no longer exist, and if they exist, it might be like a little bit right now. I think,
the people that
nomad.
But
the idea existed, but you know, back in the day, the me people that used to kind of sort of hop on places
maybe I don't know, but I know that I have some girl somewhere. I bought the ħalla with my money. I will be looking for
Mashallah. So let's go back to your school. Any additional stuff you wanted to share in terms of the excitement that's going on? What do you guys do for fun?
I mean, everything we do is fun.
Okay. Like sports activity.
We don't have sports teams yet because the kids are still young, but we encourage the parents to enroll their kids in the community centers for swimming, for tennis, and we do that to our children as well. But we have every month we have a long-standing contract with a farm, and we take the kids there and they spend the whole day for them to understand what a farm is, what animals are, where fruits come from. They are taught about different types of seeds. They are taught about how the weather affects the trees and things like that, on all these things. And then they get to climb trees and get to play in the mud and in the water and all these things. It's a nightmare for the parents.
Yeah.
But it is such a good thing for them.
I can only imagine.
So that's what we have. And then we have 2 or 3 field trips every month. Where do you guys go? We go to anywhere and everything. I mean, for example,
outside the state?
Inside the city.
Inside the city.
And usually it's for one school, one day of the school. So, for example, if we are learning about economy, the supply and demand, we take the kindergarten to grocery store. And we definitely talk to the manager beforehand, and we talk about this is what we are learning and this is what we want you to do. And so when they agree, they will set up a lesson for us. And they'll show us about these are products. When they finish, this week lemon is selling a lot. So the kids have an idea what is supply and what's demand and all of these things. And we call it math and every day. So we do plus and minus on things, and that's their project. And sometimes the kids set up their own store in the class.
Interesting.
Because we don't teach math as numbers. We teach math as concepts. And they, you know, how some kids when they grow up say, why do I need to do this? Will I ever use it? You will use it. Every day you will use it, and this is how you use it. So we start that in kindergarten. So every day we take them to, for example, we train the kids to be imams from 2nd grade. So every Friday they lead the salah for the whole week, and every Friday they make the khutbah. Yes.
There's khutbah.
There is khutbah Friday. And then so to practice that, we show them. We take them to any masajid, and then they can watch the adab of how the khatib stands up, how they sit. And then the following week is his turn. And they love it, especially in 2nd grade. The older boys, they have done that a lot. But the younger kids, when they start that year, it's so exciting to them.
I took Ilyas a couple of Fridays, was it like 3 Fridays ago? Man, as soon as he just took off. Imam Excuse me. Let me go get him.
But I like
it was fun for him. All these people, I'm like, they come the same place. It was fun. So, next time I hold him, I'm like, hey, we're sitting here, man, on the corner.
I like if the kids want to go next to the imam, because we set up everything beforehand. We talk to the directors of the masjid. We talk to the imam. Say, if somebody wants to sit next to you, you can let them. So the kids will they'll sit next to them.
So what do you hope the school to be?
I hope this school to be the light of the community.
Okay.
I hope the place where parents and children learn something. Okay. Because we also have parenting classes we used to, not anymore because of Corona, but we would have meetings where parents would come and interact and talk about their problems. And if your problem, somebody else already had a solution for it. And that's where we network with the parents. And I said the light, because wallahi, our children need a community. Our parents need a community, because each parent is locked up in 4 walls and they think whatever they're facing, they're the only one facing. But that's not true.
That's true.
So a place where they can congregate, they can feel comfortable, they can be themselves, eat their food, dress the way they should be dressing, and without any judgment, without any feeling of, I need to change my way to fit in. Gotcha. You already fit in, you're loved, this is your village, welcome. Okay. So inshallah, I'm always looking for good teachers that understand the culture, understand the community, are part of the community, because, before, I think the worst thing that happened to the African American child in terms of education, and this is my opinion, is desegregation. Desegregation, we see pictures of kids that were escorted by army to go into a class.
Yeah. What's her name? I forgot her name. When she was.
And then the teacher hates her. Everybody around her. How's that child learning? It's completely shut down. His brain is in fear, is in flight or fight mode. No learning. But when they were their own schools, taught by their own teachers, people that loved and cared for them, their spirits were high. Thurgood Marshall was taught by a segregated school, and look what he achieved. And they were all like that. So I think,
and he was the first black man to be in the
Supreme Court. And I always feel like I think black children need black teachers, simply because only a black person can understand another black person's plight, and open up their ways in a way that no other teacher can do. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible. There are a lot of good white teachers out there that are kind and compassionate, but a person of you feel more comfortable. There's a different vibe in there.
Person of your own. There's more relation to that and stuff like that. But there's all it's. I totally agree with you. There was I was watching a clip of Denzel Washington being interviewed. Some question, I can't remember what the question was, but the question in short description of it, what it was. He said the movie of Godfather was directed by, I can't remember the name, but Italian guy.
Scorsese.
Scorsese. Thank you. And the movie Schindler's List was directed by Steven Spielberg, who is Jewish. I directed this movie because I would understand, or somebody black would understand, what it feels like when a hot comb catches on your neck on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
Do you understand that?
Only a person that lived through it.
Yeah, person that's lived through it can understand it. Yes. So Steven Spielberg was Jewish. I can understand that culture. Scorsese was Italian. Can understand the Italian mob. So I'm only saying that is because to relate to your point, which is that your own will help you.
Yes, in a better way.
In a better way, if
more
you learn
nuanced,
it.
More detailed the way that another person can.
So I agree with you. So eventually and hopefully in the coming years, maybe I don't know, 5-10 years, or give the scheme at that time, but hopefully we'll be at a high school level.
Inshallah. If I'm still here, I'm planning to go back home.
Inshallah. We're all going there.
Yes.
And let's conclude this on mental health. What does mental health mean to you, or how would you describe it in mental health, and what does the community thinks that we should do about it?
I think we have to be compassionate. I think we have to be loving and kind towards everybody, number one, and more so towards the people that are having issues. I think mental health is, it stems, it's not necessarily, Allahu A'lam, but it stems from an unfulfilled emotional need that a child has from a young age, whether it's lack of security or lack of trust or lack of understanding of his own parents. I think the job of a parent is to show this kid that they are their oasis. I am here to secure you. You will always feel safe with me. And when a parent beats a child senseless or says bad things all the time, like I've had parents in schools right in front of me saying, inkar their kids. And the child doesn't know when he's a young age, before school age, but as he grows, he understands these words are mean words. And then when he connects that to you as a parent, then there's no trust anymore. I don't know what you will do to me. So when I have noticed when a mother does this to her hand, the child does that, because now I'm used to being hit by you for no reason. And anyway, there's a lot of things that combine, and then every human has a limit, and so when that child reaches that limit, then something gets broken. And when something gets broken, it's very hard to go back to the original. So mental health can be adjusted early on. You have to pay attention to the emotional growth of the child. You have to, because that's how that you give them an asset to live his life better. When a kid is loved, �𝐔𝐘𝐒. When a kid is loved, when a kid is loved, he talks to you gently. But in the classroom, that cannot sit, you know that kid's not loved. And he needs, as a teacher, more of your love. So it's very, very tough.
Mental health, it's a challenge in the way the community is serving. Kids are turning into gangs and
that's what.
And by the time you get to that level, to gangs, it's just a kind of sort of it's a done deal. There's nothing you can do. Only may God be with you.
Yes, the gang issue is they get connections. They get somebody that respects them, somebody that loves them. Something that they are not getting at home. �𝐔�9. Of course, I would want to work with you, Marcus. The person says, go shoot somebody. My brother told me to shoot you, so I'm going to shoot you. But parents understand that.
It's a little bit different than that, but I'll take that.
I always, maybe our next podcast should be about parenting things.
Inshallah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. I wrap it up with everybody. What do you tell your younger self that, knowing what you know now, going through life now, what would you tell that 12-year-old that snuck up on the all of us?
Good job.
Well done.
Good job. I think I am who I am because of my grandmother.
That's right.
She loved me, and I was one of the craziest people. I tell my crazy stories to my kids, and they love it. The people I teach, I used to do this, I used to do that, and they love that because they always tell me that their parents always tell them they were angels. They never did anything wrong. Shamsa, you are the only adult that tells us that you were a menace when you were a kid. I was, but my grandmother loved me, and she never made me feel ashamed or bad or anything else. She told me always I can do better, and I always try to do better.
That's good. I will leave it at that. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.